everybody. It's 12 noon in New Mexico, where Lynn and I are. We're in two different locations. I'm in Albuquerque at Jim's sister's house, and we just came up here to have some appointments, run some errands, and so she graciously is lending us her house and her internet to do this meeting. And Lynn's here. Hey, Benjamin. And so Lynn's broadcasting from his office in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Chris is in California. Linda Thompson, hi. Magda in Poland. Chris Harmon, Illinois. Hi, Christopher. Hi, Carrie Conti and Constance. Good to see you guys. Hi, Sandy.
Oh, Scotland, Dundee.
Martin Andrews from Dundee, Scotland. Hi, Carolyn from Virginia Beach and Elena from Lansing, Michigan. Oh my goodness, now it's going too fast. Okay, we have Virginia Beach, Lansing, Michigan. Hi, Marie. Cody. Hi, Cody. Cody's I think in Australia, right, Cody? If it's the same Cody. Then we have Patricia from Huatulco, Mexico. Hey, Ryan Montgomery. Ryan, we've got to set up a phone call. Hey, Rhiannon, Teresa. Hi, Steen from Alberta. Linda Thompson, Elena, lovely day to be spending with you from Vermont. I bet Vermont's gorgeous this time of the year. Hi from the Netherlands, Ida. Grass Valley, California, Bonnie Petit. Hi, Vicky from Texas. Hey, Bonnie, we bought our motorhome in Grass Valley, California. The weather, we got 2 weeks of rain, and then yesterday and today have been gorgeous. Hey, Pavel. Erica Branich, and then Nancy from West Virginia. Elizabeth Barrera. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Alana from the UK. Deborah. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Linda from Arizona. George from Austin. I'm going to be in Austin in December. Hi, Derek from Edinburgh. And Patty in Australia. And Chris Randall in London. Teresa Zaney from Palm Springs. Hi, Diane. Hi, Don. Fran, Rose. Hi, Rose. It's good to see you, Rose. Rose is in our CRV program, our CRV Pro. Fran Johnson from Nevada. Bill Dyer. Hi, Bill. Bill, you're in Amarillo. And that is Cody from Australia. He says, yes. And then Karen from Indiana. Hello from Oklahoma. Bill Dyer, you know I lived in Amarillo for 20-something years, right? I moved there in 1991. Liz James, Elena, and Marianne, and Jackie from Germany. Hey, Dax. Good to see you, Dax. Hi from Florida. Tammy in Colorado. Karen, California. Liz James, Tucson. Stephanie, Ontario. Terry, Alberta.
Down a little.
France, Nova Scotia, Florida, Ontario. Pahoa. Hey, Pahoa. Hey, Tommy. How you doing, Tommy? Good to see you. You're back in Pahoa. Enid Barrios. Hi, Enid. Good to see you. All right. Good deal. Okay, folks. Now, some people are typing no sound, but I think most everybody can hear us. Can everybody hear us? Can everybody hear us pretty well? Oh, Bill says, I almost bought a house in your old neighborhood. Oh, thank you, Mary Pat. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Mary Pat. Did you ever get to take the course, Mary Pat? She won a free course. Hi, Stephanie.
Used to.
All right. So sounds all clear. Okay. So if most people are hearing us, then it's probably okay. The problem, if you're not hearing us, must be on your end. So if you can't hear us, I'll go ahead and type this in here. If you can't hear us, sign out and sign back in. Okay, Mary, are you with us? Mary in the Philippines? If you're with us, send me a little note, or just type something in the chat. And Pavel, yeah, Julie. Okay, so Okay. Okay, so, good. Everybody, if everybody's hearing us, good, then Rhiannon says, "How do we win free courses?" All right, so, yes, uh, Mary Cole won a free 6-week video course when she participated in a contest, in a viewing contest at the IRVA conference that took place in 2021.
Hmm.
And so one of the giveaways was a free video course, my free basic video course. So that's what happens when you have all of a sudden my mind went blank. Deborah Deborah Katz was leading this really fun contest. It was a lot of fun, and I donated a class as a prize. But she always makes everything lots of fun. Okay, so Teresa is having some echoing problems. So yeah, I'm sorry, folks, we can't reach into your computers and fix your problems. I appreciate. I wish we could, but if you're having problems, it's probably your internet. It's nothing on our end that we can fix. It's something on your end. So I apologize that not everybody has the perfect setup. And then Lynn, your recent interview with Jeff Mishlove was great.
Good. Thank you. Yeah,
Oh,
Jeff is a great interviewer. He really is.
he is. He's a great interviewer. I think it would be fun for us to go on his show together. I've done 4 shows with him, and you've probably done more
Yeah.
than that. How many shows have
Uh,
you done by now?
four or five. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so we should come up with a really fun topic and then say, "Hey Jeff, let's talk about this," and go on together
Yeah.
and do something like that. That would be really, really fun. So, folks, we're getting started pretty quickly today, and not like other times where we've had so many tech issues that we got started late. Uh, and then lots of people are telling you how great that interview was. And Chris is letting people know to try restarting your computer and reconnecting everyone that can't see or hear. And then, okay, so okay, now, Hugh says, I emailed 3 times to hire Lynn's MedApps services. Could someone please give me an update? Lynn, do you want to address that?
Yeah.
Med-
I think I answered. I am not doing the services anymore. I'm like if I get requests for services, I try to find out what it is, like in this case, MedApps, and then I pass it to the student that I know is working it and is best at it. So I pass it to them and uh, hope that they get in touch with them. But I'm trying to finish up 3 books, 5 courses, and I'm fighting with the IRS again and losing and again. And so I've just, I keep trying to retire so I can do my paintings and all that, and that's not working either. So
Lynn, do you
yeah,
think you
so
should
I've just been passing requests for services.
be?
I'm sorry.
I said, do you really think you should be retiring so early? You're only 83. Some people,
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so yes, I was everybody's typing in the same thing. And then Ryan put an actual link to one of the interviews, probably the most recent one with Lynn. And so yeah, you can go on and you can just go in, sorry about you can go into YouTube and just type New Thinking Aloud, Lori Williams, New Thinking Aloud, Lynn Buchanan, and it'll pull up interviews that we've done. And we've both done 4 or 5. I've just done 4. Lynn said he's done 4 or 5. So all right. So who has some questions? Who has some questions? So far, I don't see any questions other than where can we find the show? And yeah, let's just see. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I don't see. Usually the questions are pouring in. Lynn, 3 books. Can we look forward to more books, Lynn?
I hope if I can ever get a chance to get them finished. Right now, it seems like I'm a professional email answerer, That seems to be how I'm getting like 150 emails a day. I'm still spending most of my day answering emails. And like I say, I thought that uh, I had responded to the request to every request, saying that I will send it to, I will send that request for service to the person who needs it. I thought I had sent that. Um,
Okay. Um, then let's see, here's a question. How do you distinguish retrocausal events from precognition? And that actually has been coming up a lot lately in some of the emails and things. Some of my students who are, experiencing displacement, but a lot of times the displacement, it's like, for example, when you view Wednesday's target, when you're trying to work on Monday's target and you view Wednesday's target, and
mhm.
a lot of them are like, or they'll view something and then what they viewed is something that's going to come on TV tonight, or
Yeah.
something like that, or something they do his target, and then they turn on my class, and I'm mentioning, well, for example, if you have a stray cat that the target is a beach, and they were having stray cats, the target was a beach, etc. So they're like, is this retrocausality or is this precognition? And I think
Yes.
that's such an intelligent question. I'd love to
Yes.
hear.
And
I'd love to hear how you would answer
the
that.
two can't always be separated. One thing we found that when you first start training a student, they will view their feedback, not the target. And the target, their feedback, acts retroactively to affect their session. Their session looks forward to the feedback. And we have found that you can sort of, it did not, we didn't miss the fact that by messing up feedback, the other countries who are viewing us, we could mess up their session and mess up the intelligence that they gathered on the U.S. And and the fact is that um, retrocausality and precognition are very closely tied together. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that if you will be absolutely certain to cause retrocausation, okay, you can view today what your best decision is for buying a car, buying a house, or anything else. Find out where you will be in 1 year, okay? 1 year from now, you sit down and you do a session to do retrocausality to give yourself hindsight at the moment of making your decision. What happens is you start making better decisions. And so the fact that these two are very closely bound together is actually a tool you can use to make your life better. It
And for
works.
And for those of you who don't know this, Lynn has a book called The Seventh Sense, in which he
Yeah.
talks about this. And he explains about an experiment that he did with retrocausality affecting his future and affecting his past. So I really recommend, I tell all my students, I make it a prerequisite to take my classes, read The Seventh Sense. It's a great book. And so
Thank you.
somebody wants to put a little somebody wants to put sorry, I thought I'd sent that. Somebody puts in there The Seventh Sense, a link to it maybe. Pavel, if you're there and you want to put a link to that, I don't know where Mary is, but we could try that. Okay, so let's see now. Oh, and then Chris is asking when my ARV video course will be out. Chris, we're hoping that it will be out in the next couple of months. We're looking at either a December or January launch date for that class. So Kevin asked, "Can after death be viewed?" You have experience with that, Lynn. You wanna talk
For
about that?
mhm. Yeah, they ran me through a series of tests of following somebody through death and afterwards. And over that whole series, it wound up that I found that some people reincarnated, some people went to what I would call heaven, some went to what I would call hell, and some just quit existing. And so, you know, one religion says no, you always reincarnate. Another one says no, you go to heaven or hell. Another one, atheists say no, you. Where they're wrong is saying that that their choice is the only choice because there seems to be more choices. I never in that series, which was a short series, found a ghost. But if
Mm.
this been longer, I may have found a ghost. I don't know. So there may be a fifth choice. I'm not sure.
So, now I wanted to share that sometimes there's several blogs that I've written, and Lynn, you might even have some. Do you have blogs on your website? I was trying to remember if you have like articles or like a section for articles.
No, I don't on my website. No, I need to do that. I have recently, well, I ran out of space. I ran out of bandwidth on my website because of the targets of the week. And
Mm,
I've recently expanded that. So now that I have about 10 times more space. And
mm,
so now then, it's finding the time to get in there and add these things. My Every time somebody writes me a question and I answer it, I save the question and answer, and I have I have like 4 or 500 questions and answers. I need to categorize them, put them up on the website for that, and I have all kinds of documents. I have 600 more targets of the week that I could put up. It's just finding the time to do it.
yeah, and that's great. Yes, time is always an issue. Alan, you asked about what stage in CRV do you see visuals? And I'd like to take a stab at that really quickly, just to say that visuals, for people who are highly visual, visuals are usually something a lot of people battle with constantly because they expect the target to be the visual they see in their minds, and it's frequently not. Lynn uses the example of, if I have something in the envelope and you say it's red, smooth, and shiny, I think it's an apple because you see an apple in your mind, and then it turns out to be a red fire engine. So,
Yeah.
so the thing is, the visuals can, depending on the type of viewer that you are, because some people are more audible and they hear things, some people see things. Some people have a mixture of everything. They smell and they hear and they see and they taste and all those things. And it just starts usually from the minute you start remote viewing, the
Yeah.
minute you try it out. So that's something just to keep in mind. And
No,
visuals are often not
your
helpful.
your subconscious mind has a limited library of your experiences. Okay, and
Hmm.
so if I give you a um, brand new invention that's being invented somewhere, and it's painted red. Okay, your visual or your mental thing doesn't have that experience of that new invention, so it's going to grab the most familiar thing that it can to that and give that to you. And so, so here you get a red fire truck, but it's not a red fire truck. This is why we always say don't try to identify the target. When you get a visual, start describing what you got. Describe, don't identify. So you get a visual. You say, well, it's red, it's big, it's mechanical. You're describing the target. Okay. But if you say it's a fire engine, you just missed the target.
Um, I'm I'm also, since there's lots of questions coming in now, I'm trying to answer a few. Um, so James says, I heard you on Astonishing Legends. I've read the phase one book. Has anyone ever asked you to remote view their death? No, and if they did, I would say absolutely not. I would never do that. Is it possible? Yeah, for sure. It's definitely possible. But would I want to do something like that? No, because I think that's extremely unhealthy. And we wouldn't, especially if we wouldn't want anyone to create a self-fulfilling prophecy either. Um,
Right.
Lynn, you have an analogy about that, like when you're trying to do you remember the analogy where you're like, but then if you happen to remote view that you're going to be in a car accident tomorrow and you don't go, then
Mhm.
do you remember that analogy that you've shared with
Yeah.
me many times? Why don't you
We
talk?
found that the future is not written in stone. You can change the future. And so any prediction that you act upon is going to change the future. The analogy we use is that of Joe's Bar and Grill, where the police come and they say, "Tell us where the criminal is going to be at 9 o'clock tonight." You do your session, you say he's going to be at Joe's Bar and Grill eating dinner. So at 8:30, they go out, hide in the bushes. 8:45, he walks up to Joe's Bar and Grill. They jump out, arrest him, and at 9 o'clock, he's in jail. Well, your prediction was wrong because the act of acting on that prediction changed that future. Now, what if you had said at 9 o'clock he'd be in jail? They would not have gone out to Joe's Bar and Grill, and at 9 o'clock he would be sitting there eating dinner. Okay, and so yeah, if you look at your own future and you say, "Oh, you know, 9 o'clock tonight, I'll be laying on a slab in the morgue because I'll be in a car wreck." Stay home. Right?
Don't go out. Right, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Lynn, what do you do when trying to set things aside won't work and you're having a stray cat that won't leave you alone and it's bugging you and it won't leave you alone and you've tried doing the set aside process and it's still not working? Then what do you do?
It's called a squirrel. A stray cat wrecking everything running loose. SCWERL. Okay. Squirrel. And there are two things you can do in a session. One, you can just give up. Okay. That's the easiest thing. And I mean, you battle it, battle it, battle it, and you can't get rid of it. Give up. You especially if it's a practice session, don't kill yourself doing a practice session.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing you can do is you can say, okay, that's what it is. And you write out on your paper, the target is whatever I'm picturing. Now, describe it. You start describing it and describing it and describing it and describing it, and you keep going. You may go a page or two. And all of a sudden, you hit a description and you realize if that's true, then it can't be what I was seeing. At that point, you write across the page, the target is not whatever it was you were seeing. Then you're free of that squirrel. You can go ahead and start viewing, but cue yourself with that thing that contradicted that squirrel. Yeah.
But is it possible to see someone who's remote viewing me?
Um, if they are remote viewing you, or if they are a psychic viewing you through other methods, absolutely. Uh, if they are a trained CRVer strictly following the English Swan method, too bad. Sorry. This is one of the things about the English Swan method. We could we could spy on the enemy, and even the dogs walking around the perimeter of the thing would never alert uh, because they take those seriously. Okay, and so they would never feel that their secrets were exposed. So they would continue on. You get a psychic and the dog alerts, and the people who are doing the secret work, the enemy and all that, they're going to take that seriously. They're going to go to plan B. And all the information the psychic got is no longer valid because they've gone to plan B. But with CRV, one of the aspects of English 1 CRV is if you do it properly, you can't get caught. And so if somebody is using the English 1 method to view you and they're good at it and they followed the procedure correctly, you won't know it. You won't know it.
I've started to answer Elena Henry. Elena, that's called winking about the site. Elena's question, if I can find it again, she said, in phase two, I get descriptions out of order. And then she
Yeah.
says, flash gestalts. I get a man-made, then I realize I'm getting bio, then I realize I'm getting air, then I'm back to bio, and it's all over the place. Then I start getting tense, trying to keep them in order. Is it okay to just write them outside of the gestalt categories and categorize them later? And so maybe we can talk about winking about the site, Lynn.
Yeah. Um, if you've ever seen the movie Up, uh, no, this is not the same squirrel as what I was talking about before. The dog in the movie is talking along, and every now and then he goes squirrel, you know, and your subconscious mind is that way too. It's squirrel. Your subconscious mind is not really organized. It's not logical. And so you'll be going along and you'll say the water is wet, the water is cold, the water is salty, and oh, trees, you know, and you get that. What you do is you put it down as you get it and you move on. And so you've got all this extra stuff mixed in with what you're trying to view. Then, and you don't worry about it at all. So then, when you do your summary, which you should always do with every session, you say, the water is, you go back through your session and you pull out all through the session those things that describe the water. And what's happening is that when you do your summary, it all filters out into order. And so you don't have to worry about it during the session. Yeah. You get an impression, you write it down. That's it. And move on.
Excellent. Now, Alan is asking about stage five, and Alan, stage five is not really an actual stage. It's a toolbox of some tools that help you break out your stray cats, your AOLs, excuse me, your and your AOLs. So it's we don't have time to teach in these little short 1 hour things. We answer questions that we can answer briefly, and so we can't, of course, teach stage five right now. But stage five doesn't necessarily have to come after stage four. In fact, I got a session from a student who it was completely in German, but he sent me a session and he actually used a stage five tool in stage two because you can actually use a tool anytime you need to use it. So don't think of it so much as like a stage where it goes stage one, stage two, stage three, stage four, stage five. It's really it's a set of tools to help you when you're stuck on a word or stuck on with dealing with some stray cats. And so that kind of goes back to the question about what Gowrie had. Like what do I do when I have a stray cat that I can't get rid of? Well, Gowrie, as you move into more advanced stages of remote viewing, you'll be learning more and more tools for how to deal with those pesky stray cats and AOLs.
Yeah,
And
the stages that we teach are mainly for teaching. Once you get to the advanced stage, uh, you're going to realize that these are just tools on a tool belt. You take one out whenever you need it. Yeah. And I don't know how many of my students have told me when they finish stage 6 training, I finally understand stage 1. And
yeah,
I can use stage 1 Idiograms all the way through the entire session. Yeah.
Let's see. Uh, then a question about psychometry. Oh, okay. So, well, Benjamin, we're trying to keep, guys, we're trying to keep this limited to remote viewing because we only have an hour. So this is a webinar for people who have questions about remote viewing. So we won't get into time to teach or discuss psychometry or dreams and dream interpretations. There were some questions about dream interpretations. Let's stick to remote viewing. Then let's see. Oh, and then Elena says, "Phew, thank you. I was trying to line them up." So that's good. And then Derek had been asking, like, what kind of information could someone using the Ingo Swann method get about another person? And I had responded with, you can get physical descriptions, you can discuss, you can discern their intentions and their motives and their activities, and I just goes on and on. I don't think there's a limit to what you can get using the remote viewing, the Ingo Swann method. However, I do like to put a caveat in there, guys, that unless you have a really high level government job or something and you know a lot of secrets, or there's some reason that some high level remote viewer would have to remote view you, because I sure don't have time to be doing that kind of stuff. I don't remote view people, unless for example I were doing a remote viewing operational project with the police trying to help them find, for example, a missing child. Then
Hmm.
I would use all my skills, right, to try to remote view a person. But generally speaking, I don't sit around going, I think I'm going to remote view so and so today because I
Sure.
have a life and so does Lynn. So when people, every now and then we'll get a letter from somebody saying, I think you've been remote viewing me. I'm like, why? Why would I?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would I
People
remote? And
people say remote view me to see if I would be a good remote viewer. No. No.
yeah,
No.
we have other things to do. And so yeah, I'm like, yeah, remote. Oh yeah, you remote viewing's real. Remote view what I have in my pocket right now. I'm just like, no,
No. No.
you're not that important to me right now that I'm going to stop what I'm doing to prove to you
You
that
want to
this
know what's in your pocket? Look in the pocket. Um,
anyway,
yeah, most people don't realize too that Presidential Order 11905, which was superseded by Presidential Order 12333, made it basically a prison offense for us to view a U.S. citizen unless we had proven authority from Congress, from Homeland Security, from one of the three-letter agencies saying that it was in, uh, that it was valid and was for national defense. And so, uh, if we if we got a thing in the paper that somebody was killed, and we wanted to, somebody would call us and say, find out who did it. No, I'm not going to prison because somebody else killed somebody. You know, call Congress. And we were not allowed to view U.S. citizens.
That's great. And somebody asked if you would type that into the chat, that those codes that you just quoted. Someone asked, "Can you view 1966?" Yes, you can review. You can remote view anything in time or space. And the thing I love about CRV is that it's really a great time travel mechanism. It's really your brain that is the time machine, but CRV is definitely the vehicle that you use to get yourself there. So yes, you can definitely use it. And then it said, can CRV be used to help with another, what was it? Can CRV be used to help with another person's health? Yes, I teach a class, and so does Lynn, a healing class called CRV Medical Applications. And it's the healing class. Now, I prefer to teach it after people have completed intermediate and preferably even advanced CRV. But you definitely have to take an intermediate before you can take CRV. Um, and so, Mary, Irene asked about, Lori, I have to move, and I wonder if I can remote view my next home. Would you put a link to the blog about how to remote view your ideal location? If you would put a link to that blog there.
Type it in. I didn't get all of that. What?
Oh, there you go. Lynn typed it in there for you.
Executive order, presidential
12,
order.
12-3.
That's the one that's in effect right now. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you, Mary. So,
Mhm.
Mary just post a link to that blog, finding your ideal location, and and then Elena asked, "Are there certain geomagnetically charged areas that are more conducive to efficient, effective remote viewing?"
I've heard about the ley lines and all that. Um, um, I think the ley lines and all may affect your psychic ability. The fact is that the English one technique is a procedural technique, and it's not affected by it. Now, it's a technique that accesses your psychic potential. So, if your psychic potential is affected, then maybe it would affect the results of a session. That's getting kind of nitpicky for the answer, but I think that's the answer.
That's great. Ellen asked, on the when I was on Coast to Coast on Sunday night, uh, I was describing a session that a student did where her target was a photograph of Jane Goodall with a chimpanzee, and behind her was a tent, and that that the student was describing what was inside the tent. It wasn't even really a tent; it was like a roof with poles and poles. And she was shocked at the end when she saw the feedback. She said, "Oh my gosh, I drew the pattern that's on the tablecloth. That means I was actually in that tent, looking at that tablecloth." And I said, "Yeah, not only were you in the tent looking at the tablecloth, but you were in the tent 50 years ago. This photograph was taken 50 years ago." And and he said, "You communicated with the student. The student was physically in front of me. This was a physical class. This wasn't online. The student was physically in front of me, and I was monitoring the student. And so when the student mentioned, 'I feel like there's a house behind her,' I said, 'Move into that which you perceive as a house and describe.' And that's called a movement command or a cue. And it's something that the monitor does. And you can read more about monitoring if you're interested in monitoring, and how I monitor and how Lynn monitors, how Mel Riley contributed some to the monitoring book. You can buy the monitoring book on Kindle, or buy the physical book. It's available on Amazon.com under Lori Lambert Williams. I had to use the Lambert because there's a gazillion Lori Williams, including a porn star. so, so you can just go on there, and you can buy the monitoring book. It's the only monitoring book that's ever been written. And
Mm.
let's see. And then we have, let's see. Lynn, did you often have the experience of being perceived by someone at the target? Can you say what aspect of you was at the target?
Only once. I followed the English one method, and one time on a practice session, well, twice. One time on a practice session, it was a museum, just just a practice thing, and I was describing the different things in the museum, and I looked around, and there was this. I was at a static moment. Everybody was frozen and all that in the museum. I looked around, and there was this one that was looking right straight at me, and I thought, well, I just happened to be right in their line of sight. And then I got the feeling, wait a minute, they were looking straight at me. I looked back, and it was a young girl, and she turned and disappeared. And everything else, the whole place was static and unmoving. And so I told my monitor what had just happened, and he said, "Well, follow her, see where she went." And that was one of the Chinese remote viewers actually spying on us. And I went back, and sure enough, I had gotten out of structure. And you know, the other time was Mount Zeal, the UFO facility the alien facility in Mount Zeal in Australia. And I got there, and this happened with Pat Price too when he viewed it. Uh, and they just let me know, we know you're here. It's okay. Look around. We have nothing to hide.
That's
So
great.
those are the only two times I've been perceived while viewing. Yeah.
That's great. Bill asked, like if you have a medical event, if you're in pain or under pain meds or something, can you trust your impressions? And I just want to start by saying that so many things can affect the outcome of a session.
Yeah.
The session, the target itself, if let's say you have a photograph in an envelope of somebody who reminds you of a girlfriend you used to have that was horrible, that alone could affect how you view that target. Your attitude. Well, for example, Catholic Mass. You have a viewer who was molested by a priest as a child versus a viewer who's a devoted Catholic. You're going to have two very different results from those sessions. And so the time of day, the amount of sleep you got last night, whether you're hungry, what you ate, the type of target it is. There's so many things that can affect a session. So the answer to that is, yeah, you can definitely be affected by meds. But they say that if you're pregnant, to a woman, if you're pregnant and you have been doing 50 sit-ups every morning since you were 13 years old, and now you're pregnant, you could continue doing 50 sit-ups a day. It's not going to hurt the baby because your body is already used to that. It's the same thing with drugs. I think is we had a student who it was on some heavy meds like Neurontin and oxycodone and all kinds of, because he had like a million screws and bolts and rods in his back, and so he was in constant pain. But he took those drugs just to feel normal on a day-to-day basis, and he had been taking them for so many years that when he became a remote viewer, I mean, that was his normal state of being. So it's not like the drugs really affected his viewing, because that was just his normal state of being. So I personally think what's normal for you is going to, it might not affect your viewing, but it could affect someone else's for whom it's not a normal thing, if that makes sense. Did you
Yeah.
want to?
And also, if this is an operational session, you generally wind up giving your results to someone who's going to analyze it. And it's just like the police, there's a wreck, and they interview everybody who witnessed the wreck. They take into consideration your viewpoint, who you are, your your background, everything else, your attitude toward everything. And so they take that into consideration in their analysis. So, yeah, it will affect your session. Uh, it may affect your session, but uh, in the end, you come out providing information anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, so these are great questions. I love these. Um, Now, when it comes to local sidereal time, Lynn, James Spottiswood's research was later found to not have consistent results when they tried to replicate the research and replicate the experiments. Uh, I personally don't like considering local sidereal time, because if I have to find a missing child, I don't want to be thinking, like, well, can't help you now, police, because it's the
Uh,
bad hour for me to remote view. So I've always kind of tossed a local sidereal time out the window from day one. When you told me about it, I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I didn't always tell you when I was thinking things like that. But it's like,
uh,
I'm not.
I think the effect of local sidereal time is real,
Yeah.
but uh, the amount that it affects your session, I think, is the amount that you let it affect your session. Uh, I've seen some people who've taken the data, and local sidereal time drastically affects their session. Others don't care about it or don't even know about it, and it just doesn't seem to have any effect. So, it's like a talisman. The amount of faith you put in that talisman is going to determine the effect that it's going to have on your thinking, your ability, and all that. Yeah.
That is a perfect answer. That's such a perfect answer. Thank you so much. And Chris asked, why didn't we remote view 9/11 events? We did. Lynn totally described 9/11 back in the 80s, Chris. And I had dreams of 9/11 from the time like I was like 3 years old, regular nightmares of 9/11 until I was in New York City trying to get out of New York on September 10th. And then early on September 11th, I was in the airport in Dallas when the planes started hitting the towers, and I was like, oh, here's my dream. Never dreamed it again. But remote viewers and psychics the worldwide had precognated, is that even a word? Had precognition about 9/11 for many people. Thanks, Isaac. Thanks for coming. Anyway, so yes, we did remote view 9/11 events. The only problem, though, is, and that's something that I found on a regular basis, and Lynn's found it too. If you read the analogy on Lynn's website of the rock and the pound of time, is that what it's called, Lynn?
Yeah.
You will understand like how difficult it can be to pinpoint something. Like, so Lynn, you remote viewed 9/11. I mean, you drew sketches that were mind-blowing of the planes crashing into the towers, and you described it to a T, and so much so that they published it in a magazine, and I read the magazine article. But the problem is pinpointing and saying, hey, this is going to happen. This event will happen on X date and being accurate with the date. And I wrote a whole blog about that. I wrote a blog about predictions and how dicey it can be to try to, the timing, I think it's called The Timing of Predictions is the name
Yeah.
of the blog that I wrote. Mary, if you can find that and post it in the chat. The timing of predictions is really dicey when it comes to any psychic determining, when a certain thing's going to happen. Do you want to speak to that at all, Lynn, about the timing
Well,
of it?
nobody is absolutely perfect. And so I think the classic example of that is the not so amazing Randy. uh, he gave absolute proof that there is no such thing as being psychic because he tested a psychic once who said that there would be an earthquake of, I forget what magnitude, in San, I'm going to make up a name here, Lorenzo, Spain, okay, on a certain date. And and the not so amazing Randy proved that there is no such thing as psychic because on that certain date, an earthquake of that magnitude in that town in Peru happened. Same name of the town and everything else. But when the psychic said it's Spain and didn't say Peru, then absolutely, that's absolute proof. There's no such thing as psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, uh, getting 100% accurate session is not only hard, it's very rare. There's something going to be wrong, and there will be one little difference. And the thing is, the magnitude of the information you give is going to be there. And this is why, like in the military, they never sent the troops out on anything we said. They put everything we said into the pot, mixed it in with spy in the sky satellites, ground agents, eyewitnesses, and everything else, and found out what part of our information they wanted to depend on. And that's where it became useful.
Okay, I'm answering this question from Deborah Shores. Deborah, you asked about the Malaysian flight. A team of professional remote viewers were asked to view that and did a major remote viewing project on it right after it happened. I had just gotten bucked off a horse and was in a trauma hospital with multiple traumas and was asked to participate in that project, and I couldn't because I was too banged up. to do it. But the results of that viewing, as far as I understand, is actually classified, and it's no longer, it's not something that's out there for public consumption. Is that your understanding too, Lynn, on that?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's
yeah,
the
there
answer.
are classified factors involved in that. Yeah,
Yeah. So, and people say if you've spent your whole life ignoring your psychic abilities, will CRV help reignite them? And I say definitely, because I've seen so many students who've ignored their abilities their whole life, and then CRV provides a safe platform. I think I put myself in that category as well, because when I found out about CRV, discovering Lynn's website and had the honor of being one of his students, I found that it gave me a safe platform on which to stand to
mm,
start learning about my own abilities, and it felt safe and it felt okay, like not evil, And so I think that's why, because I think that sometimes we ignore those abilities as we're growing up because we've been taught that it's evil, or it's bad, or you're weird, or you're a freak, whatever. And then you discover CRV and you find a community of like-minded people and teachers who love you and want to make sure you're safe and take good care of you.
yeah,
And now you have a safe environment in which to blossom,
yeah,
to really blossom.
yeah. One of the interviewers that interviewed me one time said, "You're a Christian and you're a psychic," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, how can you be both?" And I said, "You know, this is still my answer. If God gives you a gift, it's a sin not to use it."
Exactly. I'm so
Yeah,
agree with. Yeah, if God gives you and also what makes the psychic sense any more evil than your sense of eyesight or your sense of hearing? You could
mm,
use your eyes to look at porn. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But that doesn't make your eyesight evil, right? So that's why I think why do people associate psychic ability with evil? Personally, if I'm allowed to say this, guys, if publicly, but personally, I think it has to do with power. We can often be controlled through fear, and those who want to remain in power, if they can make, I mean, think about it. If you're truly psychic and you can control your psychic abilities, then there are no secrets. And so, therefore, doesn't it make sense if you don't want your secrets revealed to convince people you shouldn't use that ability because it's evil and you might go to hell for doing that? You know,
small change in the old saying, in the valley of the blind, the one-eyed man is called psychic.
That's a great. Oh my gosh, I love that. In the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is called psychic. That is so great. Um, also, Mary just put a link to the how to talk to devout Christians about CRV, and also I just want to mention a lot of people have asked, are there live in-person classes? I still teach live in-person classes. Right now, most of my classes are online rather than in person, just because it's a lot more work to do to do in-person classes. Excuse me. And in May, I ended up in ICU because I was overworking. So since then, I'm 65, so I'm getting long in the tooth. But since then, I've just been trying to conserve my energy, and I had to catch up a lot of classes because when I went into the hospital, I had to cancel three live workshops. So I've now made up two of those, and this coming weekend, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the October 14th through 16th, I am teaching a live basic course, and on Saturday of that 3-day course, we're going to be opening enrollment for only the second time this year. We don't advertise this or anything. We don't ever put it out there, but we're going to be opening enrollment for our 3-year professional certification program. And so anybody who's interested in that can write to support. Mary, should we have them write to support at intuitivespecialist.com? Mary can post that in there. Support at intuitivespecialist.com. And you can say, hey, even if you can't attend the 3-day course, you could say, hey, I can't attend the course, but could I at least attend on Saturday long enough to hear about the 3-year program? And Mary will send you a link so that you can attend long enough to hear about the 3-year program. Oh, there she goes. Yeah, Mary posted it there, supported intuitivespecialist.com. And I am planning to have more in-person events. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, and I stay strong and healthy. I am planning to have some more in-person events. Um,
Good.
and and so Mary's posting also a link to Lynn's courses, so you can click on Lynn's video courses, and Lynn does a great job of providing follow up for his students. And because he's always been so good with that, I always also have really good follow up for my students. We both created like Lynn, you have weekly meetings with your students, right?
It's gotten down to where I have, for the basic class, every other week, webinar. Usually lasts for about 2 hours. We go over people's sessions and answer questions and all that. The weeks in between, we have for the intermediate course, and I'll be coming out with the advanced. Hopefully, come out with the medical apps, the monitors course, the analyst course, the database managers course, the project managers course. You know,
Exactly. Yes.
one
So
day, one day I may retire. One
okay,
day,
and
be off to the old folks home. I retire. Yeah,
Rona, Kajabi is just a platform in which Lynn and I use to put, some of our offerings for you. So, for example, Lynn, you host your classes on Kajabi, correct? Your
yeah.
video classes, and I host my non-Facebook based mentoring forums on Kajabi. So we did a lot of people are like, I don't want to have anything to do with Facebook. So because of that, we created forums on Kajabi. So our students who are part of Club PRV, and my company has a membership club where and usually get a few months free when you first sign up for a basic class or something. And what we created this for is so you can get mentoring while you're learning this, because I found that when I first started learning this, I felt lonely on that journey. Sometimes you're kind of floundering and it feels lonely and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel, and you doubt yourself and all that. And so I thought, well, how can I support my students while they're on this journey after they take the classes so that they're like, okay, well, now I'm going through this stage, and we found that remote viewing students, all well, remote viewers as a whole, actually go through predictable stages, just like you can predict when the baby's going to start crawling and when the baby's going to start walking and when the baby's going to do their various milestones of growth. So do remote viewers. And for that reason, we created a club that we call Club PRV, which stands for Practical Remote Viewing, which is just another term for controlled remote viewing.
Yeah.
And we created this club so that people can they can meet other viewers, they can form partnerships. We have a lot of viewers who have now linked up with other viewers to have a monitor viewer situation and do that for each other. We have regular assignments and we get online and we talk to each other. And Lynn has something similar in that he just works with his students that have signed up and taken his courses, and he works like with the basic every other week online to go over their assignments and things. And he's a one-man band, so I really admire that. He doesn't have, helpers
Well,
as
I
much.
also try to get a community going where the students work with each other, select targets for each other, monitor for each other, help each other. If a question comes up, I tell them if you don't know the answer, don't make up one, call me, you know, and don't just logically make up an answer because where the subconscious is concerned, logic doesn't always apply. Um, so I still work with the groups that form within the community, and and we get people working together, and they form friendships that last for a lifetime. They form working groups that last for a lifetime, and they get on these projects, and pretty soon they find the use for CRV that they like best, that most rewards them, and we have those that have spun off and focus completely on detective work. We have others who have been doing stolen artwork. We have others who are doing medical work. We have others, who have found the niche that they really want to use the remote viewing for. They've gone into it. They're going to spend their life doing it because they love it. And it's
Yeah,
great.
it's so true. I mean, look, I started with working. communicating with you in 1996, and
Yeah.
I am still absolutely fascinated by it, and especially the time travel aspects. Those are my favorite. That's my favorite part. But Julia said that someone asked about ideograms all looking the same. Um, and sometimes you go through a stage where your ideograms morph and they do look very similar. And that's when the feeling component really plays an important part. Lynn, do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah. There are two parts to a, the remote viewing, especially the ideogram, is very physical. It's a physical martial art. And so you not only have your wax on, wipe off, but you also have wax on rough wood or wax on smooth metal, or, you also have the feeling component. And you may have two ideograms that look exactly the same, but they'll feel different. And that's your subconscious finding a way to distinguish small nuances. Sometimes it's not small nuances. Like I have one that is straight line and rough. It feels rough on the paper. That's my ideogram for land. I have another one that is a straight line and just slick as it can be. And through practice and doing sessions, I've found that anytime I get that one, a major component of the site is that it's frozen. Those two don't relate, and yet my subconscious has zeroed in to give me straight line slick, something's frozen. Straight line rough, we're talking about land. And so when the ideograms look the same, that doesn't mean they're going to feel the same.
Yes. Um, so let's see. I guess we've run to the end of our time, Lynn. We've already, that was a fast hour. That was a very quick hour. We love doing these monthly webinars for you folks. We love your questions. You guys asked fabulous questions today. We didn't get to all of them. I'm sorry, but
Do you
it
want
was.
me to go ahead and put up those, or have
Oh
Mary
yes.
put up?
And
Uh,
would you like to speak to what these are about? With these,
yeah,
Lynn has written a few articles, and he's going to post the links to these articles in here. And
yeah.
for those of you who haven't noticed, Mary has been posting a ton of links in here. So you're going to want to save this chat, or copy and paste or something. Don't lose the chat because it's got some great information. So Lynn's going to post some links to some articles that he wrote. And Lynn, go ahead and
Actually,
tell.
I'll just post the PDF articles uh, rather than links to everyone. Is it taking it?
You can't. I don't think you can post the articles in the chat. I think you have to just post a link to the articles. Like if you put them in a Google Drive, you could
My
put them in.
machine.
Oh,
I sent them to Mary, so she may have a way to put links to them. Yeah, but
Mary,
they are uh, things on if you're practicing how to select good targets for each other so that you can work together. Good practice targets. There are definitely targets that you don't want to use for practice. Uh, if somebody's in training, don't give them blood and guts and murder and mayhem. That's going to cause their subconscious mind to refuse to view. So there are definite ways uh, to select targets for learning and for practice, and these two papers will give you the guidelines for doing that.
yes, both Lynn and I have targets on our websites. The targets that I have posted for public use are really basic. The targets that Lynn has on his website are so thorough, and he's done a masterful job of programming so that the targets can be for basic, intermediate, or advanced levels. And there's hundreds of them, hundreds of them. How many? Do you know how many exactly, Lynn, on your website?
420, I think, at the last count. And like I say, I have about 600 more that I just haven't had room on the site to put them up. So,
Oh my gosh! So, but now that you've expanded you'll have time, you'll have the room to put them up.
If I can find the time to do it, yeah.
Yes, we need to send you some
March
help.
each one, yeah.
Oh, this is so great, guys. Thank you so much for everybody for being here. It's been really, this has been the smoothest meeting I think we've ever had, Lynn. This has been fabulous. Maybe we're finally getting the hang of this.
Maybe.
Anyway, so and Jim and I will be calling you. We're going to be. We want to find a time to come down and spend some time with you, and hopefully get do some recording of some of your.
My granddaughter is here visiting for this week, and we're going to be tooling around New Mexico,
Mm,
and I might unceremoniously just
drop
find
in.
some,
I
invite
would.
myself over. Yeah.
Oh, we would love to have you. We would love to have you. That would be wonderful. And your granddaughter, she's welcome. How old's your granddaughter? This particular granddaughter.
I'm supposed to know the answer to that.
Test
She's
question.
in her 20s, yeah. um, but yeah, I would love to show her your Earth ship.
Oh,
That's
that would
just
be great. We need to that right now that because we're we've been doing this whole transition. Things are a bit of a disaster at the Earthship. Not terrible, but they're dirty. I mean, it desperately needs a good vacuuming and dusting.
you're talking New Mexico, of course. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, it's great to see you so much. Love you very, very much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us your time. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. We'll be
Thanks to
back.
everybody for attending,
These are
for the
our next
questions.
one, guys, in November. We have another one in November. I'll just really quickly tell everybody what that date is so that everyone can put it on your calendar. I believe it is November 1st. That's what I have. November 1st. I have it on my calendar as November 1st. Lynn and Lori.
Yep.
Same time, guys. November 1st. So that's a Tuesday, just like today. So just put it on your calendar for November 1st. Join us for another Lynn and Lori webinar.
Good.
Love you all. And anybody who wants to that can do it, just Mary, did you put the link? Yeah, I think she did. The link, if you're really interested in this and you want to go like really go full on, this 3-day basic course that's coming up is going to be an intense course. We call it the fast track. So this is a 3-day weekend if you want to jump in and take that. It's coming up October 14th through 16th. I think we have a couple of spaces left. So jump in. I know Mary just put the link to it. Jump in. We'd love to have you. Oh, I've got one important announcement I almost forgot. For those of you who are still with us, my book is coming out on Audible. It's all ready to go, and we're going to be launching it. I don't have the exact, it's all ready to go, but we just have to pick a launch date because we want to have time for people to learn about it. And for those of you who are in our inner circle, like you guys, we're going to be offering a free PDF of the book, of the print book. And so if you buy the Audible book, you'll get a free PDF of the print book that will have clickable links in it to a bunch of other goodies. So people who are on my launch team who want to help us launch the book, just write to support@intuitivespecialist.com and say, I want to be on Lori's launch team. And we'll put you on the launch team. And there'll be special bonuses for people on the launch team. Anyway, I almost forgot to announce that, but I just want to tell everybody that. And so I'll be sending out an email. If you're on my email list, you'll get an email about it. Anyway, love you guys. That's the book. Carrie says, which book? Boundless, Your How-To Guide to Practical Remote Viewing. That's the name of the book. Thanks, Carrie. I know Carrie knows the answer. She was just asking so that I'd be sure and mention which book it was. Thanks, guys. Love you all so much. I'll go ahead and turn it off now. Thanks, Lynn, again. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Good seeing you.
Good to see you
I'll
too.
contact you, see if we.
Oh yeah, please do contact us. I'd love to meet your granddaughter too.
I love that.
Okay, bye everybody.